Should I start admitting?
Yes, go ahead, Roshan. We'll start in a couple of minutes.
Hello everyone, welcome all of you. We'll be starting in a couple of minutes as soon as we have a few more participants who will join in.
Roshan, we can start.
So hello everyone. Hello everyone. A very good morning to all of you who are joining us from the US, and good evening, a very good evening to all of y'all who are joining us from India. I hope I'm audible to all of y'all. My name is Roshan Shah, and I represent the Mumbai office of Fairfax County Economic Development Authority, India. headed by Ms Juhi Naithani. We are the Economic Development Authority of the local government of Fairfax County, Virginia, aiming to help organizations across the globe to set up and expand their businesses in Fairfax County, USA. First and foremost, I hope everyone is safe and sound at your end. We hope the situation gets better soon. Having said that, welcome to the episode 5 of Fairfax County Virtual Visit to India series. And here we are again after the resounding success of our previous visits in Chandigarh, Bhubaneswar, Delhi, NCR, Kolkata. We bring you to episode 5 of the Virtual Visit India series. Fairfax County Economic Development Authority visits Pune, the city with all kinds of ingredients from great institutions and colleges to emerging innovations and giants such as Bajaj, the Poonawalas, the Kalyanis, and Kirloskar. I am excited and look forward to great takeaways from an outstanding line of panelists, which include Mr. Madhu, Head North America BPS Delivery Tata Consultancy, Mr. Anshu Srivastav, Founder, Mentor, Startup Advisor, Senior Charter Member, TiE Pune, Mr. Shishir Lagu, Partner, US Taxation Now Partners, Mr. Juhi Naithani, Assistant Director, International Business Investment, Fairfax County Economic Development Authority, Mr. Lee, US Consulate, and Mr. Vineet Patni, Vice President, TiE Pune. In case all of these esteemed speakers are from the local government industry stalwarts coming from all walks of life and will be right on there on your screen after the introductory part. In case if you have any questions from any talk or the panel session, please feel free to message me or my colleague Dave Malik. We shall get back to them right after the session. Also, if by any chance you miss on some important points, worry not, as we'll be sending you a copy of the webinar soon and connecting with you on personal basis as well. With this, requesting you all to please join me in welcoming Mr. Lee, the US Consulate, well known for his expertise in market access and compliance section of the International Trade Administration, having helped many organizations in the successful international expansion. We're thankful to you, Mr. Lee, for giving up your precious time. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Lee.
Thank you, Rushan, for that wonderful introduction. Good morning to all who have joined us from the US, and a good evening to our Indian participants. Thank you all for your participation in today's webinar. On behalf of the US Embassy and the Commercial Service, I would like to welcome Ms. Juhi Naithani, Assistant Director, International Business Investment, Fairfax County Economic Development Authority, our panelists, and the Fairfax County EDA team, and all the Indian companies, with the hope that this event will prove to be fruitful for you all. As you all know, India remains one of the fastest growing global economies. It also enjoys very strong trade, political, and people-to-people connection with the United States. I'll take a few minutes to highlight the importance of this trade relationship. The United States and India have made great strides over the past decade, going from 60 billion in trade in goods and services in 2009 to 150 billion in 2019. Despite this high level of growth, there is still plenty of room to increase fair and reciprocal trade between our two nations. In fact, the US government has several agencies working in India dedicated to increasing our bilateral trade. One such agency is the Commercial Service, a part of the US Department of Commerce, which I am honored to represent here. The Commercial Service is a trade and investment promotion agency with a mandate to create the conditions for economic growth and opportunity. I'm delighted to be part of this event along with my colleague, Ms. Shamli Menon, to promote Fairfax County as a great destination for trade and investment. Our goal is building relationships and identifying trade leads, which contributes to business and investment opportunities at both ends. The US economy, with an annual GDP of over 20 trillion US dollars and a large consumer market of more than 325 million people, is one of the largest market opportunities in the world. Investment in the US means reaching an ideal customer base with high per capita income, availing the services of the most productive workforce, and leveraging innovative sector ecosystems. But don't just take our word for it. Independent rankings such as the World Bank's Ease of Doing Business and Kearney's FDI Confidence Index consistently put the US at or near the top of their rankings. The US is a transparent, stable, and fair business environment. Our predictable legal system treats all companies equally, regardless of origin, and we boast an unparalleled climate for innovation and intellectual property protection. Intellectual property protection is a corner of our legal system. You can rest assured that your unique ideas will be protected. The American higher education system is a source of quality R&D partnerships, as well as a source of hiring a superb workforce. Speaking of the business environment, Fairfax County's access to international airports, Washington, D.C., and the East Coast brings all the benefits of any major commercial center, including easy access to top companies, a multimodal transportation network, a competitive tax structure, excellent public schools, colleges, and universities. In fact, my son is currently an engineering student at George Mason University, located in Fairfax. In 1999, I moved to Fairfax County. I set up a business in Tyson's Corner. I operated that business for more than a decade, taking advantage of many features mentioned previously. The quality of infrastructure and access to transportation made an ideal location for my small yet global business. From my offices, I was able to manage far-flung supply chains, engage with customers, and access the most talented workforce available anywhere. And this is not just my story. I'm looking forward to hearing about TCS's success story and the sector-focused panel discussion to follow. Many Indian businesses and investors have made profitable investments in the United States. In 2019, the total stock of Indian foreign direct investment in the US was $16.7 billion. Software and IT services sectors have been the top investments from India into the United States. According to FDI markets data, from October 2015 to September 2020, investment in the United States by Indian software and IT service companies is estimated to be about $2.7 billion. Technological innovation have undoubtedly impacted the way we work, especially during this pandemic. COVID-19 has created unprecedented opportunities for the tech sector, and I applaud Fairfax County for identifying this segment as an area of opportunity. When you invest in America, America invests in you. The US Department of Commerce offers a host of services to foreign investors and businesses, helping them to get started. Through the Select USA program, the department is advancing the administration's trade and economic agenda by fostering business investment into the United States. Select USA offers a host of services, including its flagship event, the Select USA Annual Summit, that are available to foreign investors and businesses to help them get started. While the pandemic prevented us from hosting last year's event, we are looking forward to hosting Indian companies this year from June 7th to 11th for the 2021 Select USA Summit, which will be held virtually. We are pleased to announce that US Secretary of Commerce, Gina Raimondo, will host the 2021 Select USA Investment Summit. Secretary Raimondo serves as the 40th US Secretary of Commerce and was recently sworn in by Vice President Kamala Harris. This year, the Select USA Investment Summit brings the diversity of the United States together in a single virtual event, providing more than 100 virtual exhibitors who will showcase investment opportunities from every corner of the United States. High-profile business and government leaders who will share insights on the latest business and investment policies and trends. The summit is a place to make business deals happen. Participants will find the practical tools, information, and connections they need to move their investments forward. Today's webinar's theme is Grow Your Tech Business in Fairfax County. And I can't leave without talking a bit about an excellent opportunity available for tech startups under our Select USA Tech program. Select USA Tech offers unique opportunities for early stage and startup tech companies at the Investment Summit at a discounted ticket price. Not only are Select USA Tech participants invited to exhibit their products and services by including an in-depth video on their exhibitor profile, but they can also apply to pitch in front of a panel of venture capitalists and representatives from startup ecosystems across the United States. Sessions are categorized by industry, including aerospace, cybersecurity, e-commerce, fintech, medtech, and software. In addition to investment academy sessions open to all international companies, Select USA Tech participants can participate in tailored workshops focused on pitching, scaling, fundraising, and financing their startups, including sessions on investment opportunities in emerging technologies. Another initiative that I'm very excited about is the Select USA Global Women in Tech. This program is a new Select USA effort focused on female entrepreneurs and is a featured element of this year's Investment Summit. SGWIT will include opportunities for mentorship networking, as well as highlighting some of the lessons learned by successful women entrepreneurs who've expanded their business operations to the United States. The program's mentorship network call for applications is now open. Isn't it encouraging to see women entrepreneurs make these strides? In closing, I hope you will find today's presentation to be very insightful and useful. I look forward to you all being able to leverage Fairfax County's collaborative environment, which spurs technological innovation. My colleague Shamli and I are available here should you need any more information. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Lee, for your insights. Really appreciate you taking the precious time to share the very useful resources, and it's been a real pleasure having you among us, especially for your take on India-US relations and how technology companies can leverage the huge market of US. As everyone is aware of USA being the largest economy in the world, so definitely that's what the webinar is about. As you can see, first I'm glad to see you, so many of you join us today. Trust me, every word being discussed here will be worth all your time. And before I jump into the literature, I thought I should take you through the journey that I personally went through when I first got introduced to Fairfax County. Since Fairfax County, for the new ones who get to hear this name, they must be saying what Fairfax County, why Fairfax County. Next slide, please. Yeah. So like any other average person, I typed Fairfax County in my Google search. In fact, I request you all, urge you all, why don't you also type why move to Fairfax County right away in Google and follow me. Just simply type, why don't you all, why move to Fairfax County in Google search engine. And in fact, the top result, all the results will be saying Fairfax County, Virginia is full of opportunity, be it for the business, the innovative ecosystem, diversity, and fun things to do. You can check that later, the ones who haven't typed this thing in the Google as of now. Next slide, please. Yeah, so map now. So after typing the Fairfax, why move to Fairfax County in Google search engine, then I went to maps option and zoomed in slightly and noticed that it was super close to Washington DC. The place I've heard and seen so many times in movies and shows on Netflix, FBI, CIA, NASA, US Marine, to name a few. And got super excited to know that the county I now represent is so close to the place as symbolic as Washington, DC. In fact, Fairfax County is the tech hub of Washington, DC metro area. You all must have seen in my emails. Fairfax County is located within minutes from Washington, DC, and is in close proximity to 3 major airports. Next slide, please. So coming to why Fairfax County was there for the tech businesses, how is the tech ecosystem in the county? Next slide, please. Yeah, as you can see, the advantages as mentioned on the screen. Apart from that, I would love to mention we are home to 9,000 plus technology-focused enterprises that deliver a full spectrum of high-end services and solutions to government, industry, and consumer markets worldwide, supported by a robust workforce. Regional office, if you are in Fairfax County, that puts you in close proximity to your partners, your clients, and minutes away, within from the federal government, which is the single largest consumer in the world. Next slide, please. Yeah. As you can see, as displayed on the screen about the industries, we have innovations filled from mentioned sectors with more than, I'll mention 55 cybersecurity 500 firms. We are one of the fastest growing artificial intelligence hubs in the US with more federal contracting dedicated to our region than any other county in the country. We are home to several tier 1 research universities such as George Mason University, data lab focused on data analytics and other key AI security issues. Next slide, please. Yeah. So as you can see, the major employers from Fairfax County, that means Fairfax County has a deep talent pool of financial analytics, accountants, software developers, UI, UX designers. And as you can see, the major employers, one gets to, you get to hire the best of the best. With access to population, of Fairfax County, where 60% of adults have a bachelor degree or higher, within 1 in 4 jobs in technology. That's what the webinar is about, growing your tech business in Fairfax County. Next slide, please. Yeah, coming to innovation, as you can see, the opportunities of federal contracting. The US federal government is the world's largest buyer of goods and services. I must mention that, and most of you are aware of that. Thanks to our proximity to the nation's capital, more federal procurement of our dollars goes to companies located in Fairfax County than any other locality and almost any state. Next slide, please. Yeah, so in the end, you name it and we have it. So we have, the lifestyle, as I mentioned during the first slide, why move to Fairfax County, you'll find, it's the perfect place. That's not just because, I am representing Fairfax County, so I'm biased, but I told you to search on Google by yourself and you'll see the results. You name it and we have it all. Next slide, please. So coming to, how, the transition will happen. For that, we are here. Well, giving the introduction, who we are, what we stand for. As my colleague, Mr. Rushin, mentioned in the kickstart of the webinar, we are the local government economic development authority helping businesses across the globe in the successful transition into Fairfax County in the most efficient manner. There are, next slide, please. I must mention, since I keep meeting decision makers, C-level people on daily basis and from India, and most of them, I won't say most of them, but yeah, the startups mostly are interested about knowing about the investment opportunities, whether there will be investment opportunities in Fairfax County who will help the businesses in the expansion. To answer that in advance, investors, let's say normally only want to put the money with people who are already there. But yeah, definitely we can introduce you once you land there with a vibrant investment community focused to your sector and incentives. So that's what Rushin mentioned. We'll connect you with you all on personal basis for everything. Next slide, please. So as you know, before my conclusion, after like the whole year, one has to show the report card. So this is a very short glimpse of our report card of annual 2020. Since in 2020 the biggest event we also was COVID-19, which made all of us see the challenges that no one has seen before. But we took those challenges and met them with new innovations. We moved forward, launching the Robust Talent Initiative, work in Northern Virginia, as you can see on your screen, which connected thousands of job seekers nationwide with Fairfax counties, hiring employers. And we have worked with nearly 150 businesses, more than 150 businesses that announced the creation of 11,000 plus jobs in the county throughout 2020. Well, yeah, that was pandemic year. So that's our report card on that. Fairfax County has been, as I mentioned, around federal contracting. It has been number one in COVID contract spending in FY 2020 with 4.7 billion contracts almost. Coming to a few names, Volkswagen, as you can on the screen, Volkswagen selected Fairfax County for its North American headquarters in 2007 and has become highly visible and active member of Northern Virginia and Washington DC community. The company recently, in the pandemic year, signed a new 20-year lease agreement for 196,000 square feet headquarters as an anchor tenant in Boston Properties, new 1.1 million square foot development. The other name, which you can see, Microsoft Corporation, which is a worldwide leader in software services and solutions, has announced to establish a software development and R&D regional hub in Fairfax County, which will again create almost more than 1,000 jobs. So this is the ecosystem I represent, which is more than since I started from the Google search. So this is the ecosystem I represent, which is much more than the 10 pages of Google search. And yeah, I covered more than those 10 pages in just 5 minutes. Thanks again, everyone, for your time and listening to me. For any questions, feel free to email me, message me, call me, since I'll be coming back to you to schedule our one-on-one meetings. I'll be dropping my personal contact also in the chat box for your help. Now I would like to invite Ms Juhi Naithani, who is the Assistant Director at Fairfax County Economic Development Authority in the headquarters and leading the India for the transition into Fairfax County. Juhi, please.
Thank you so much, Dave. What a great job you did of introducing the county, like you said, in 5 minutes. There's a lot to talk about, and yet you accomplished that. So thank you for that. Thank you for the introduction as well. Welcome to everybody who has joined our meeting today. I'm very excited to get into the panel discussion with the speakers you see on your screen. And I'm not going to delay any further. I'm just going to simply invite them on the proverbial virtual stage and ask them to please start by giving a short introduction to themselves, what they do, who they are, and what brings them here. How about we start with Anshu Srivastav? I know you're known to a lot of people in the audience already, but please tell us a little bit about yourself. After unmuting.
Exactly, unmuting myself. So Dave, fantastic presentation, Lee. Great to hear about all the stuff which is going on. My name is Sudhanshu Srivastav, but everybody calls me Anshu because it's really tough, and I spent about 15 years in the US for them to even get it going, and they actually wrote that down in my agreements. But I spent 15 years in the US. I'm a computer engineer. I was part of a couple of companies over there, scaled them well. Currently, I'm a Thai charter member, and I'm a LP in a few VC funds in the US and India. And my area of focus is the intersection of B2B and SaaS in the Indo-North America corridor. And I'm also extensively engaged with the startup ecosystem, being a mentor and advisor to early stage startups in the same corridor. And thanks, Juhi, for having me on board.
Absolutely. It's wonderful to have you here. How about we move on to Madhu Onteeru next from TCS?
Yeah, hi, Juhi. Good morning and good evening to other participants from India. So nice to meet you all virtually. So I'm Madhu Onteeru. I work for TCS. Of course, all of you know TCS in India. It's the largest IT services company and top 3 IT services and digital and business process services companies in the world. $23 billion revenues. So that's about the company. And I've been with TCS now, I want to say 30 plus years. So in the US for about 22 years now, and I've kind of traveled extensively in the US and settled down my roots in Northern Virginia. So I've been here in this region about 15 plus years. So excellent introduction, and Fairfax County, thanks to Lee and Dave for those introductions. I look forward to bringing some local insights in terms of my experience having done business here and doing business here and living here and raised children here. So thank you all for the opportunity.
And thank you, Madhu. Yes, we're really looking forward to learn from both you and Anshu, of course, your various experiences, not only in the US, but in business in general. And last but not least, Shishir Lagu, you are from KNAV Partners, a business and tax advisory service. Please introduce yourself.
Thanks, Juhi, for inviting us today for this webinar. So I lead the US tax and regulatory practice at KNAV. KNAV is an Atlanta-based tax and accounting firm. And over the last 2 decades, we have worked with a lot of Indian multinational and SME companies for their operations in the US, right from setting up the companies to providing them the tax, regulatory advice, audit support, valuations, and so on. So we have been like a one-stop solution for a lot of our Indian clients who are looking at setting up their operations in the US.
Thank you so much. That's wonderful. And I'm going to get started right away with our panel discussion. And the panel discussion is titled "The Importance of Ecosystem for Business Growth." And we're looking to share some nuggets from you all to our audience about how they can grow their business, because that is obviously of interest to all of us. But why don't we start by first defining an ecosystem? What does it mean? I mean, I think it's a terribly largely used word, overused word, but really it must mean something for it to be so popular. And I'm directing this at Madhu and Anshu. How do you define an ecosystem, specifically a business ecosystem?
Yeah, I'll take a stab at it first, Anshu, if it is okay with you.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So ecosystem, I mean, I'll let Anshu also weigh in, but from our perspective, it's people, right? I mean, it's people, and people, when you talk about people, it comes to livability and quality of life, because in our view, that's what actually kind of brings the talent, especially for in IT and the services and product companies that we are. Without the core talent, we really cannot do anything at its core. So we would say that the talent pool, and the talent pool, when you say then associated with that would be the quality of life associated with that, the educational infrastructure, the universities, the school systems that can create this kind of a talent pool, and partners, customers, and basically prospects and the networking opportunities, and more importantly, supportive and forward-looking local and the state government entities, right? So I'm not even going into the tax regime and other things and all that. So at its core, the infrastructure, it's what brings people together. When I talk about infrastructure, we're talking about, commuter train, railroads, airports, healthcare, and stuff like schools, high-speed internet. And for companies like us, large companies, data centers, dark fiber termination, and things like that. So these are all the things that come together, which kind of enable, the people that we need to be in a place. So there are other customers and partners and other support ecosystems around. Sure, I'll let you weigh in also.
So, well said, Madhu, and I'll expand it a little bit because, again, as we said, it's a very loosely defined, very overused word. But in a sense, I would think so. It's a combination of probably four things. One is the infrastructure, which is kind of to be soft and hard infrastructure, which contains office spaces, and then second would be markets, and third would be the support systems, and fourth would be the people. So not in specific order, but I believe all of them get together and form an ecosystem, which is, and then the other aspects around the ecosystem, whether it's a good, bad, what are the good, bad, compliance, tax, so on and so forth. And I would say that probably gives a good sense of when somebody looks at an ecosystem for their business, those are the four things they should look at.
Great, thank you both. So agree with you there. Ecosystem, we learned this word, I think, in biology in grade school. And when we learned about ecosystems, it is what helps you live and grow in a community, essentially. And the one thing that I would add there is when we are talking about the community that is business, then you get a little bit more formal about what other businesses are there, whether they are conducive to your being here, whether there is an opportunity for growth. And that brings me to the next point, because this panel discussion is also about business growth. And one of the ways that businesses grow is by expansion. Expansion can be within the country, expansion can be outside of the country. And of course, for the purposes of this particular session, we're talking about international expansion. And, Shishir being the expert here in terms of international tax, specifically US tax, why have you seen in your experience companies expand internationally? Why should they expand internationally?
Well, so I think you used the word growth quite a few times, and I guess that's extremely important, right? Because as they say, growth will come to the businesses who are really willing to disrupt themselves. I mean, unfortunately, in today's time, one may argue that even survival is akin to growth, but it's a short-term phenomena. This pandemic is a short-term phenomena. But if you think beyond that, ultimately, it's a growth which each business wants to do, and which may be either organic or inorganic. And it can be domestic and it can be international. And sometimes that's where I feel that US, as one of the largest consumer markets where there is a demand for everything, it gives a great opportunity for a lot of Indian businesses to kind of set up their shops in US. And do the business in the US, because it definitely gives a lot of expansion opportunity in terms of growing their businesses. At the same time, when they find the right synergies in the US, they may look for an inorganic growth as well. So ultimately, any expansion is about growth, about increasing the shareholder value and doing a lot of more business.
And that you would say is the driving force behind companies going abroad, right?
That's true. That's true.
And then I want to pose the same question to Anshu as well. Since you're an advisor to other companies, you've yourself worked in different markets in terms of national markets. You've been in India, you've been in the United States. Why do you think companies should expand internationally?
So I think that, one is, first aspect is obviously what are the markets the company is looking for. And, I just recently posted about, 11 unicorns being created in the last 4 months in India. There are a lot of companies which are targeting and which can become unicorns and become really big just in the Indian or Southeast Asian markets, or just in the Indian markets itself. They don't really, and a classic example would be, we had posed this question to Mr. Hemant Jalan, who is a very senior Thai charter member and whose company Indigo Paints just went IPO. And in one of the panel discussions, we asked him a question that, okay, what are your plans for outside India? He said, even I mean, the Indian market is so big and untapped that I mean, for the next 5 years, I'm not even thinking about it. But going back to the fundamental question, why you want to go outside a particular country or geography is one is you want to increase your revenue acquisition. And, you know, sometimes the geography may have limited opportunities for revenue acquisition. Second is you have the ability to have more profitable revenue streams out of many other economies for doing the same. The unit economics are maybe much more profitable when you go into developed economies or when you go to an economy like the United States or Europe and so on and so forth. The same product would be selling at, you know, $100 a piece in India, and you may be able to charge $500 or $300. And the lastly is finally, when you are scaling and hyper scaling and going into multiple geographies, so let's say instead of one country, you are in 10 countries and you have offices in, you know, 50 locations, and you are profitable, then from a future expansion and growth perspective, you're looking at either maybe doing an IPO or getting funded, and then you become very appealing to a global audience of investors, whether it is public markets or private markets, to invest in you. So those are some of the drivers which kind of help you know, push a company to look into markets outside their own geo to expand.
Great, thank you. I just want to quickly let the audience know that we will obviously unmute everybody towards the end of the formal panel discussion, but feel free to put your questions in the chat box in the meantime for any of the panelists on the screen. I'm sure they'll be happy to take them. So thanks for that, Anshu. And moving on, you know, so you've decided that as a company, you're ready to grow. You've decided that you've reached quite your potential in home market, or that your offering is appealing to an international market. And so you pick an international market. So the big question then is, how do you pick which market? And, you know, some of you have already said, and we know, yes, the United States is the largest market in the world. Still, the United States government is the single largest consumer in the world. But within the US even, how do you decide where to go? I could ask Madhu, I mean, what brought TCS to Northern Virginia?
Yeah, so TCS is one of the very globally diverse companies. We have operations, I want to say, close to 50 countries in the world. And United States contributes close to 60% of our revenues. It's the biggest market. Okay, this is where we kind of started, and then we kind of expanded everywhere. And why did we come here? Basically, you know, I mean, we basically followed the customers, and you know, there's a market here, and that's how we kind of entered. But more than 3 decades ago, the origin story is that, you know, we kind of, everybody, you know, New York, people will end up in New York initially and all that. So we did, you know, start our initial operations there. But then the DMV, the Northern Virginia area, was a close second to immediately, soon after that, I think we established a footprint here. And till date, this area continues to be our headquarters for North America, where we do all the, you know, the back office and immigration work and stuff like that. So we put a footprint here, started with a lot of government contracts, you know, which are like open bidding and anybody can, you know, kind of participate, and a lot of opportunities there. Then that one led to the other, expanded into Fortune 500 clients. And then that's how we kind of put our roots here. So today we have close to 1,000 plus people here. We have, I want to say, about 40,000 employees in the North America. So 1,000 plus in the Northern Virginia area. So it's the markets and the customers that brought us here, and it's the strong ecosystem and support system, and you know, the quality of life that kind of kept us here, and then it's growing.
Great, and I'll get back to you on you know, quality of life a little bit later. But you mentioned the Fortune 500 clients, and you know, that's one of the statistics that we are very proud of in Fairfax County, that we are home to 11 Fortune 500 company headquarters, which is more than 30 other states can boast of themselves, and we're at the county level. So taking the same question in a more formal or logistical way, and I'm thinking tax, Shishir, when companies expand to the US, anywhere in the US, tax obviously is a consideration for any business. So what do you think are the elements that help a company decide where to locate when it comes to tax benefits?
Sure. So one is, and again, it comes sometimes as a shock to a lot of Indian companies when we tell them that in US there is 3-tier system of taxation as compared to something like India where there's just a single income tax. So it starts right from there because it's very hard to believe that, let's say someone is doing business in Manhattan, he needs to pay a federal income tax plus a New York state income tax plus a New York City income tax. So that's very important that where you locate, and ultimately income tax is what you are paying on the profit. So if you are into the city which is kind of charging you a county level income tax as well, it becomes burdensome. So locating, deciding where you want to locate is driven a lot by the tax parameters. Federal, whilst it is consistent across the US, state and city is something which is in your hands. You're looking for the tax efficiencies, where to locate, and that's where location advisory becomes extremely important. So say something like Virginia, which has got about 6% income tax, which is quite moderate if we look at the overall US landscape. But if you look at some of the larger, Northeast states like a New Jersey or a New York or a Pennsylvania, it's much lower compared to that. So are we better off being situated in Virginia as compared to some of these other northeastern states? Whether that will give us more tax efficiency is one of the considerations companies do look at. Secondly, the tax incentives and tax credits. So a lot of states offer the credits and incentives for doing the business in that state. So a lot of credits revolve around the R&D credit, around the job creation credit, investment tax credit. So looking for the right state which is providing the incentives and credits for the kind of business you are doing, again, becomes one of the important parameters to locate into. Now, what is becoming important is Joe Biden's tax plan, because that is something which is catching the eye of the entire world, because he is looking out for some tax changes which are going to be mind-boggling and which are going to change the kind of US tax landscape significantly, especially for the multinational corporations. But the ultimate theme, I mean, as the plan, they call it as Made in America tax plan, and as the plan suggests, the ultimate goal looks to be incentivizing more and more businesses to be located in US, and not just have more and more outsourcing or offshoring of the businesses. So it will definitely incentivize companies coming into the US and setting up their operations into US. But one needs to closely monitor how that tax plan is going to span out over the next 6 to 8 months. So tax is definitely one of the important considerations, and you can definitely create tax efficiencies around where you are located.
Thanks for that. And I'm glad you mentioned the 3-tier system of taxation in the United States, because that's something that's news to Indian companies. Anshu, you have something to say?
Yes, thank you, Juhi. So I will actually, you had a very interesting question, what are the drivers where you decide where to go? And I'd say broadly 2 things. One is ease of doing business, and 2 is ease of living. Okay, I just trying to parlay the word ease in both the sentences, but ease of doing business will encompass everything, whether it is tax, whether it's compliance, whether it is the support, whether it is ease of hiring people, so on, or access to technology, access to sales, marketing, everything. And ease of living would encompass the people aspect. What is the quality of life? What all do you have access, whether schools, education, communities, learning, so on and so forth. So broadly, I think so. If you look at a higher level, if you think so, you go down those 2 and bring down the 10 points under, then that would kind of help you identify a great place. Like, staying there in Virginia, the access to, whether it's tech, access to, people who love trekking, people, the school districts, some fantastic schools, John Mason, some monuments. It's just amazing to be out there. And taxes is another thing. So you can go on and on. But broadly speaking, I would say that those are two key drivers when somebody should look at opening up a business in any particular geo.
Absolutely. Well said, Anshu. And actually, I'm going to stay on point and go back to Shishir again with the tax implications. And now that we know that there are these 3 tiers of taxes and that taxes do vary by state. I know that a number of Indian companies, actually a number of global companies, will register in Delaware if they want to be in the United States. I want you to tell the audience a little bit about why they do that. But I also want you to tell the audience, looking at your own clients for KNAV, are the companies who are registered in Delaware doing business in Delaware?
That's a very good point, Julia, and I would vouch that 95% plus of my clients are incorporated in Delaware. And the reason why Delaware is recommended, or it's called the incorporation capital of the US, and more than 50% of Fortune 500 companies are also incorporated in Delaware. And honestly, it's because of the excellent chancellery court which they have, the great judicial system, ease of kind of doing the corporate law matters. So you can form a company in 2 days, you can wind up a company in 2 days. There are no stringent rules with respect to holding any meetings. Your directors, officers, everyone can be non-residents. You don't need to have resident officers, directors. So it's really, like Anshu mentioned, right, ease of doing business. So the corporate law, the way it is structured in Delaware, it's absolutely easy to operate. And that's where a lot of companies prefer Delaware as a incorporation state. Having said that, there is also a myth that we are incorporating in Delaware because there is no tax in Delaware. Now, that I look at it as a myth because of 2 reasons. Number one, what Delaware state generally provides is that most of your passive income, which may arise in terms of interest, dividends, or whenever you do an exit from any of your businesses, that kind of an income is not taxable in Delaware. But if you are actually doing operations in Delaware, it is still subject to income tax in Delaware. So if I am having the full-fledged operations, I'm having an office in Delaware, it is still taxable. The more important point is that even if you are incorporated in Delaware, and let's say if you are conducting your entire business, let's say in Virginia, Virginia is going to charge you a complete state income tax on your profits which are generated in Virginia, irrespective of the fact that you are incorporated in Delaware. So honestly, there is no correlation between where you are incorporated, vis-a-vis where you are doing business. The income tax is driven by where you are doing business and not by where you are incorporated. And to your last question, Juhi, very, very few. So of the 95% clients, like I mentioned, who are incorporated in Delaware, there may be hardly 1 or 2% of the clients who actually have operations in Delaware. Everywhere else, it's just an incorporation state.
So what I'm getting from that is you can be incorporated in Delaware, but likely your offices are going to be elsewhere in the United States and probably closer to where your customers are, which is the natural thing to do. I would just say that perhaps, the second consideration would be, besides having clients in that particular place, is also how good of a market access do you have from wherever you're situated, right? And again, another one of the things that we, being in the mid-Atlantic, kind of feel that we have an advantage, because you have access to 2/3 of the US market within either a 2-hour drive or train ride or flight from Washington, DC. So just to make the point, Madhu, how many of your clients are in Delaware?
I suppose, we service the Fortune 500 companies. So I suppose the majority of them are incorporated, and we ourselves are incorporated there, but we do very little business. To your point, we do very little or no business in Delaware, actually. It comes from most of them.
Okay, great, good. Thank you for corroborating. I was scared there for a bit, but I'm gonna stay with you, Madhu, and take the discussion in a bit of a different angle, because we are looking at locating to a particular place, and we talked about infrastructure, we talked about business community, we talked even about taxes. But you started off the topic by talking about people, and I want to focus on a specific category of people, which is a company's human resource. How important is talent? You said you have about 1,000 people in the Northern Virginia area working for TCS. How important is talent in terms of your site selection, decision-making process?
Absolutely. I would say it's number one criteria, especially we being from the IT services and products category. It's number one criteria. As someone rightly said earlier, 100% of our intellectual capital walks out of the door at the end of the workday every day. So it's people, right? So it's people, and the talent pool is what is number one criteria for us. And as you know very well, in US, the concept of a destination city, that those are the locations where people are willing to move or live gladly if offered a job or whatever and all that. Obviously, jobs are available, but there are many locations where jobs are available, but people don't want to move there. So the talent is not available there. So it's a resource is excellent. I mean, the human resource is the number one aspect for us. We are one of the largest employers worldwide, both in India as well as in US also. And we really pay very, very close attention. So we have, for example, committed to hiring more than 10,000 people over the next 2 years in North America. I would say a significant part of it would come from Northern Virginia region also. And it's again, when we talk about, that's why we're saying, I think Anshu also captured it very well. The moment we say it's infrastructure, why people? People come because of, again, living and infrastructure. And we again try to find not only the talent, we should have the ecosystem that kind of creates the talent, that sustains the talent, that lets the talent stay put willingly in the area and be happy about that also. It's for all those reasons that this is an excellent area, especially as most of you would have seen in the last 1 year due to the pandemic. Everybody is, kind of working remotely. Those that haven't, lucky to have the ability to work remotely. Not everybody has. But for example, we as TCS, 100% of our employees have been working remotely for the last 1 year. Now, people have options, right? When you start working remotely, they have options to go and live where they want. So we do want an ability where people are gladly staying put in an area, don't feel confined, and they also have an opportunity to visit offices, meet customers and all that. So from all that angle, I would say it's our number one priority, and this is an area that meets all those requirements for us.
Thank you. Thanks for that endorsement, Madhu. I completely agree with you. And I think this ties back into the incentives that you were talking about as well, Shishir, because you will find that states that are very generous with incentives have little else to offer. And so as a state, Virginia is not leading in terms of incentives that we offer, in terms of cash incentives that we offer to companies that are locating here. But our incentives come in the form of, again, the place, the environment, the ecosystem, the relationships you can build, the actual potential for business. So I think that's what we have going for us. And this is again another, probably Shishir, you see this a lot in your advisory services as well, when people are looking for sites to select to move to. You have to look at it more holistically. You can't just look at the incentives. You can't just look at the people. Excuse me. You can't just look at ease of doing business. It has to be a combination, combined with the fact that you have clients that you can seek in that area, right? And yeah, and on the matter of clients, I'm going to ask Anshu, right? You're an advisor to companies, you mentor them. Do you ask them to follow the location? Do you ask them to follow the clients? Because you could be like Madhu said, TCS has clients all over the world, but they have locations only in specific places. So what do you say to your mentees when they ask you this?
So there's no, unfortunately, there's no holy grail, or there's no magic mantra, which is, one size fit all kind of a solution. For example, let's say there's a AI chip manufacturing company in India, which wants to set up operation in the US. Are they going to be doing a manufacturing facility are they going to are they going to target clients in a specific geography? So the fundamental question is, what is the nature of business? So there are a lot of businesses which do not require a lot of enterprise sales kind of a cycle, which is a 6-month or 12-month cycle. And that's different, okay, where a lot of the sales is done through marketing. Then you want, hubs out there where you can just reach out and provide maybe some kind of a support. On the other hand, whether it's like a TCS, which does a lot of enterprise sales, or ERP providers, which are selling $1 million a year kind of businesses, those businesses require a lot of interaction with clients, and even in the pre-sales process. So you have to establish hubs which are close to those clients, okay? And on another note, when you're setting up, obviously like TCS talked about hiring 10,000 people this year, then you want to be at places which are likable to people which they can hire. So there are multiple different approaches to go about it. Now I'll go back to the fundamental one is I just target about how do you acquire customers, or how do you want to go about it? And first of all, I think that this is a marketing and sales 101, where you want to identify your what is your initial sweet spot, whether you want to be the number one in your small box of $1 to $500 million companies, or you want to be the number 10 in a big box where there's top so many companies. So, and that the initial process is where you would probably start reaching out through your inside sales teams, sitting out here itself, and try to get some initial traction, or whether it's POCs or some kind of traction where clients show an interest. Once you see that happening, then you will get a sense of which kind of target ideal customer profiles resonate with you, and which kind of geographies may have a lot more of those customers. So for example, if you're doing cybersecurity, okay, if you're a cybersecurity provider and you're doing a lot of enterprise-wide cybersecurity work, then that Northern Virginia or this area is a great place to be in, because you get a lot of defense work, there's a lot of talent available, there's a lot of easier access to a lot of clients. So you initially start off with probably doing the scoping, the prospecting, so to speak. And once you go to the next level, where you actually have identified some clients, and now you want to have kind of a beachhead out there in that particular geography, whether it's Virginia or Delaware or New York or the Valley, wherever, then you go ahead and set up an office out there, but not like an office just for the sake of having a US domicile, an office with the specific objective of landing and expanding in that geography. Okay, does that make sense, Juhi?
Absolutely, and I'm glad you said that. And it's actually very well aligned with one of the questions we have on the chat box as well. So Jayasudhan, I hope you were listening to that. Definitely expansion is a many-phased process. You just don't go charging in with everything that you have. And I liked how, Anshu, you mentioned, do the customer discovery first, right? Take it step by step. And the other thing that I think you pointed out, which I would like to reiterate, is it's not just having a PO box and yay, we are a US company. I mean, that is unlikely to get you the kinds or the volumes of returns that you're looking for from your expansion. What your prospective and future clients are looking for is a trustworthy local name. And that's when they start to give you business. So yes, it is a bit of a chicken and egg situation. But again, going back to Jayasudhan and what you said in the chat box, certainly, explore partnerships first. Our suite of services is to support businesses, but not to take on their operations for them. So we will not do your business development. You will have to do that yourself. But we can certainly guide you and provide you with soft business landing services. We can tell you where you can get access to information, what organizations you should tap into in order to, get a sense of the community, the business. I mean, here we have, for example, TiE Pune. And if you're at all associated with TiE Pune, you know why you're there. You are there for the networking, you're there for the mentoring, you're there to get exposed to like-minded people. So it's a similar situation here. In fact, I'm on the board of TiE DC, so I'm associated with TiE as well. And I understand the value that the organizations like TiE bring to a business community. So reach out to us, myself or Dave. Dave will give you, a whole list of organizations that you can start checking out, again, remotely, to start tapping into and starting to get a sense of where or whether you would like to be here, right? There is no compulsion at the end of the day. Anshu, yes?
Yeah, so I just, I wanted to add something to what Juhi said and what I was talking about. At the end of the day, wherever you're going, whichever geography you're going into, whether it is you want to go to the US and you set up an office in, say, Virginia, whether you want to set up an office in Fairfax County, you are setting up your own mini ecosystem, so to speak. Okay, and that mini or micro ecosystem, which is micro and then expands, that ecosystem consists of partners, whether these are partners who are helping you selling, where you're partnering to sell, sales, marketing, everything. And I believe that FCDA is a good enabler for you to build that ecosystem. In a sense, they will provide all the support, the connects, but at the end of the day, it's your ecosystem and you have to build your ecosystem. Okay.
Well said. I ditto that completely. Yes, it's, and nobody can sell your business better than you. Right. So don't even trust anyone else to do the selling and to do the development of the business. Do that yourself. So just personally about me, I moved to the United States in 2000, and I moved to Connecticut, which is a state further up northeast, just in the New York area, or actually further north of New York City. When I moved to Northern Virginia, that was in 2012, the biggest, I think, difference that I saw was the diversity. People from every country, every walk of life live here, right? And I found that extremely refreshing. I didn't have to drive miles and miles to find an Indian store, for example. It was readily available. And I know that, Madhu, you mentioned you've been here 15 years in Northern Virginia. I want you to tell the audience a little bit about living here, the personal side of it. You live in Northern Virginia just like me, but I don't want people only to listen to me. Tell us how you have thought of living and bringing up your kids and your family in Northern Virginia.
Yeah, absolutely, Juhi. It's a pleasure to share my personal experience. Again, just to set the context, I used to travel, with the exception of last year, about 5 days a week, pretty much. So I traveled extensively in the US. We have customers all over the US. And I travel. So I've been to all the places. I've also lived in New York, New Jersey area. I've lived in the South before I moved to Northern Virginia. So I can tell, with the confidence of not just being here, but having seen the whole of US and, again, having lived in multiple parts also, that it's really a pleasure to be in this area. Again, this is not something that people may pay attention to, but I would really encourage everybody to kind of think about this, because this is one of the key drivers why you would find people in certain areas and why would they continue to be there. So on a funnier note, I can tell you that West Coast Bay Area has earthquakes. LA area has forest fires. Go to the north, it's frozen. Chicago and northern New York has got lake effect snow, and the south has hurricanes. So Virginia has nothing, right? Virginia is the safest place. It has none of these natural hazards. Very safe place to be here, not having to worry about this seasonally or every once in a while or whatever. So it's a nice place. And I don't know if many people know, Virginia has Fairfax County is one of the top 3 school systems in the country. I think maybe the second largest also, or whatever. It also has the #1 high school in the country. It has the #1 STEM high school in the country, in the area. There are 3 out of the top 10 public universities are in Virginia. So it's a very, very nice place, or the best place to be in if you want to kind of stay safe and raise a family. And I would actually echo what Juhi said. That is also one of the top things that come to my mind is the diversity, right? You don't find this in many places. Okay, there are enclaves where it's kind of one particular community dominates, or wherever in some parts of the country, but here it's a very, very diverse community. So it's really very easy to kind of very nice as an immigrants or even otherwise to deal with people from different cultures and live and grow and make friends and then attend cultural events, things like that. So many national parks and DC being nearby and all that. It's really a great place. And also this is a place where you can see 4 seasons very clearly, right? I mean, that's one of the few things that benefits of being here. So overall, 15 plus years that I've been here is because I choose to be here. I could live anywhere, wherever, but I choose to be here. My kids love it here. I mean, they've grown and they're in colleges and out of colleges and working and all that. Wherever they go, they're very proud to introduce. When people ask them, "Where are you from?" They always say they're from Nova. For those of you that don't know, Nova is Northern Virginia. They're very proud to kind of associate themselves with that. So overall, it's an excellent place. It's a personal testament, and I do echo what Juhi and others said on this as well.
Thank you, Madhu. I would say the same. Yeah, it's a great place to be. Love being, the proximity to Washington D.C. Whenever you're near a country's capital, it brings with it its own social cultural characteristics, which are so charming. Yeah, so it's a great place to be. Anshu, I believe you've visited the area as well. Would you like to share some of your opinions?
I had visited that area many, many times. I used to stay in Pittsburgh for about 10 years. And we have a lot of friends in that area. And always it's been amazing it just, whether it's culture, whether it is the mishmash of cultures, people, communities, the museums, the art. There's so many things which resonate very well. I really, enjoyed being there so many times.
That's great, lovely, and would love to host you next time you're here. I want to now actually open up the floor for audience Q&A. Everyone should be able to unmute themselves. Of course, you can still use the chat box if that is your preference. Please feel free to turn your video on, but ask our panelists any questions that you might have. And while people are thinking of their questions, I want to thank the 3 of you. Thank you, Anshu, Shishir, and Madhu, for sharing your insights, your expertise, and for taking the time, most of all, to join us for this program and be here with us, and also impart your knowledge and expertise to our audience. I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Thanks, Juhi.
Absolutely, anytime, Juhi.
Totally.
Are there any questions?
Hi, Juhi, this is Jay here. So it's the same questions that I posted on chat. I thought I'd ask them. So we're an early stage deep tech startup working in the assistive tech domain. So specifically, the solution is called Let's Talk Sign. It enables two-way communication with deaf people. So I'm just wondering what sort of help or support we would get from Fairfax County for early stage startup like us, right? I mean, of course, we can't move there. We can't start a branch or so there yet. But we do have plans for expanding to the US for obvious reasons, as you mentioned. But just trying to understand how it will be helpful for us, right? In terms of what kind of support we may get from the county, and also in terms of not only in terms of early stage startup, but also startups working in the assistive tech area, right? So that's my main question. I think the other question about first step in expanding is a partnership the way to go. I think Anshu answered, and you also added some points. But yeah, so these two are the questions that I had. So yeah.
Sure, Jay, I'll be happy to take that. And what I can say is that the full suite of services is available to one and all, and the level of service remains the same regardless of who you are, size-wise or stage-wise in terms of a business. But every service is just not for everybody, just because each company is different, and their goals, short and long term, might be different as well. So it's interesting you mentioned assistive technology, because we have had one Indian company startup very similar to yours, offering a product, not in a, well, it's for senior citizens, that they offer this product, and it's a tech, software and hardware combined offering that they have. And they moved here during the pandemic. So nothing is impossible. It is possible for you to still, continue with your expansion process. There are various ways that we can help. Definitely, as a startup, getting introduced to local accelerators and local incubators that we have in the county, some of which are focused on deep tech companies like yours. It would be kind of an obvious first choice initially, introducing you to those kind of folks in the ecosystem. I think that one of the biggest values we provide as an organization is information. This is the age of information, as we all know, and it's hard to gather as much market intelligence as you need in order for you to make a decision as a business. And that is where we can definitely be of assistance, providing you with market information about your industry or expertise, which is very, very focused and specific. We have actually the AARP, the Senior People Organization, which, once you cross the age of 55, you start getting letters from AARP. Have you joined? Can you be a member? And a lot of times companies will partner with them to provide products to their members. That comes to mind as well. And they're located here too in Fairfax County or in the DMV region. So there are many different ways. And like I said, because it's so individual in nature, I mean, Dave and I would be happy to kind of set up a one-on-one meeting with you and go over, what exactly your plan is, what are you thinking, what's your timeline, what resources do you have, and which ones do you need support with, and then we can customize our offering to you as well.
Sure, that'll be great. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely. Does anybody else have questions for our panelists or me or Dave, or since Rushin is here, for Rushin?
Juhi, one more question from me. So are there forums, right, online forums or anything that we can join to sort of begin exploring the ecosystem and partnering opportunities and stuff like that, right? So are there any specific forums that we can watch out for and join them? No?
Yeah, one of the biggest things that has happened during the pandemic is that people have taken their events online. And the second biggest thing, which is a perk of these online events, is most of them are free. So there are many organizations, many chambers of commerce. TIE DC has actually a startup event next week. I can put in a plug for them. April 28th and 29th, they have a scale-up event. And they're going to be talking about various ways in which startups can boost and grow and scale their businesses. And it includes one-on-one mentoring, which is limited to their members only. But certainly you can attend events like that. There are other organizations and chambers of commerce that we are in touch with. As FCEDA, we are members of almost every local organization here. So I would recommend that you start off by subscribing to our newsletter. The newsletter not only gives you snippets of information of what's going on in business in the community, but there is also a listing of events that you can then just register for right from there and then participate in. So that's a great place to start. And again, Dave can share with you our chambers list. if you visit their website, you will get chamber-focused events that you're welcome to attend as well online. So that would be a great starting point for anybody who's online right now here on this session. If you want to find out more about Fairfax County, please do subscribe to our newsletter. Dave, maybe you can put the link in the chat box, and also reach out to us for that organization or associations list that we can share with you.
Cool, thank you.
Sure, and we are coming up on our time now, and I do want to be respectful of everyone's times. Dave, you have something to say?
Yes, we noted, I'll share the duly, let's say, mentioned fact sheets, documents, and, connect with every attendee post the event. Though, since, this is getting streamed live on LinkedIn also, I have received some messages on LinkedIn, and I'm not sure, this will fit to which panelists. So since you are leading the panel discussion, I'll share this with you. Since we have panelists who have experience in both the markets, what are the difference in strategies and approach to market post COVID for both India and US? So it's up to you, whom to ask.
Can you repeat that, Dave, please? I just missed that.
Dave, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, Mr. Anshu. The question is, since we have the panelists, who have experience in both the markets, what are the difference in strategies and approach to market post-COVID for both India and US?
Well, I can start with that, because we, as FCEDA, we market ourselves too. We've been doing it regularly in India. When it was a normal time, and in my previous lifetime, I used to come to India twice a year just to do outreach for FCEDA. And what we have done is we moved everything online. So we didn't reduce the intensity of our efforts. We just changed the method. What we have observed our companies do, you're talking about how has marketing changed post-COVID? I mean, COVID brought up a lot of realizations for companies. One, you can be upended by this disruption in society, but two, you can also respond to it if you are really agile and creative. And only the companies that responded quickly were the ones that stayed afloat as well. Another thing it has brought to light is that you can't have all your eggs in one basket. You have to diversify your supply chain. So what we are seeing in terms of inbound investment into the United States is in some traditional manufacturing as well, which was not the case before. So we're seeing that nearshoring has become an option. We're seeing that companies are now choosing to set up manufacturing operations in the United States, an expensive place like that, because a supply chain diversification is needed. We saw a kind of a wave. So companies first were shocked that they had to lock down, but then they realized that there are tools available for them to work remotely. Then they got very used to working remotely and said, hey, what is the need for an office? And now we're seeing them think again about, well, we can see there are distinct benefits of teamwork, of brainstorming, so on and so forth. So they are looking at more of a hybrid model. And Madhu, I think you have firsthand experience here. A lot of the TCS workforce is remote, right? Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, certainly, Juhi. So TCS was one of the first companies. I think we have something called SBWS, Secure Borderless Workspaces. So we are the first to pioneer this concept. So we started off with onshore, offshore, like any other company. Then within that, we had delivery centers, secure delivery centers, client-specific delivery centers, so on and so forth. Then slowly we moved to Agile. And then we kind of graduated from there into a location-independent Agile. And then right now we're in a model called the Secure Borderless Workspaces. Basically it's a tool set of, it's an ecosystem of tools and technologies, the things that actually create a secure workspace irrespective of your physical location, which actually has really helped us, navigate through this pandemic while taking care of all our employees, when they were kind of in different places in the world under lockdowns and stuff like that. So it's very interesting in a way that customers, in terms of both in the US, I mean, I'll speak more from the US perspective. The focus on security has really gone up quite a bit, especially when you have folks working remotely. Customers do want to pay attention on to what's your level of security. Are you able to maintain the level of security that you had done earlier? Otherwise, number one. Number two, there is a lot more focus on business continuity planning. Many customers are worried about what happens, if your workforce, if they are sick or they are sick and they need to take care. There's no child care. You have to take care of children learning from home and stuff like that. So a lot more emphasis on security, a lot more emphasis on business continuity planning, what we see. But on the positive side, many of our events that we used to host in different parts of the country, customers have moved online. And actually, we have seen, like Juhi said, the participation actually has gone up. There are more people that are able to join and use the online format. And I don't know, some of you might know, the TCS sponsors different marathons. TCS New York Marathon. This year it was virtual. You could run a virtual marathon, So there are opportunities like that, you could run a New York Marathon from, your hometown in Pune. Could still get that. So there are new opportunities that kind of, opened up with this online kind of format.
I'm just going to piggyback on that for a second, Juhi. So the pre-COVID, post-COVID, I think so it's COVID now. I mean, there's nothing like post-COVID. We are going to be in this state for a while. So, but it's totally flipped things upside down. The conventional paradigm of selling has changed. I talk about TCS. My neighbor is very senior in the leadership team, and he used to travel 15 days in a month to North America and Europe from India. I see him jogging and working out, and he probably goes once in 6 months now. So the whole paradigm has changed. Being nimble and agile, efficiencies and utilization and collaboration are probably everything else falls under these. Everything has changed. The way the lens of the people have changed, how to look at stuff, and you have to evolve, otherwise you won't survive. Now the tailwinds and headwinds are there for the businesses, which are always going to be there. But to evolve and survive, people have adapted to new tools and really, really quickly to move forward.
Absolutely agree there. Shishir, do you have anything to add? I'll give you the final thoughts floor.
No, I think nothing else from my side, Juhi. I mean, definitely. I mean, this was a great session, I felt, and I'm sure tax and regulatory will be just one of the aspects, but ultimately it will still the business which will drive, and the support the counties like you or the development boards like you which will provide will definitely go a long way for the businesses.
Thank you. Thanks so much for that. So in the interest of time, I think I would like to once again thank all the panelists for being here, thank all the audience members for being here, and give the floor to Vineet Patni from TiE Pune. Please close us out, sir.
Oh, thank you so much, Juhi. I think it was a fantastic session from Fairfax County. Hi, Dave. Thanks for organizing it. Sudhanshu, bringing things together. I think Shishir, Madhu, Rushin, it was extremely informative session. And I think from TiE Pune perspective, we are very happy to associate and look forward to more sessions in the coming months and years. And I think the biggest positive side is we could do this session virtually without actually meeting, without being at the same place, and it could be organized, coordinated, and we could have multiple participants be in the session in a short period of time. I think, overall from Fairfax, from what I picked up is, of course, Fairfax does offer fantastic infrastructure, I think good source of talent, of course, tax advantages and multiple other benefits, making environment quite conducive for startups or grown-ups or any kind of organizations to look for relocating or having some sort of a setup or having a business there. I think that's very positive. From TiE Pune perspective, just to give you all a quick background, we've been here for, TiE Pune has been fairly active for now 14, 15 years, I would say. Over 2,500 members at any point of time, or some sort of conversations that we do with members who've been with us or the new members who keep coming in. And of course, we've got close to 70, 75 really active charter members. Most of them are entrepreneurs and very successful entrepreneurs. So that's the size of TiE Pune briefly. We run various programs in TiE Pune, and some of them are flagship programs. One of them I'm sure you would have heard of is Nurture. Nurture is a program which has now become the largest virtual accelerator in India. And we've got close to 35 to 40 companies which come in every year after almost 200, 250 who apply, and they go through a 9-month program. It's completely free of cost. Charter members put their time and they graduate. So we've now on Nurture 9 or Nurture 10, I know there are quite a few Nurture companies who've relocated themselves to US. So certainly, we will reach out and send them an information about you all. We also have partnership with Entity Data Japan, where we recommend, we search companies for them globally. We have, this is a 3rd year, relationship which we have signed with them. We access companies for them all over the world minus US, but we do know that quite a few companies who did become grand champions in Japan actually ended up relocating to the US. So I think there is a lot happening in addition to, of course, other TiE activities which we do, like TiECon, Future Tech, women's entrepreneurship, etc., etc. But I just thought I'll talk about these 2 programs. And good for anyone here to apply for them. But I think the most important part is, we look forward to this association. Thank you for this lovely session, and hopefully, we will have more and more interest in the coming months and years. So thank you so much, Juhi, and thank you everyone for the lovely session. And thanks for everyone to join in today. Thank you.
Thank you, Vineet. Rushin, you have final thoughts? Rushin disappeared.
Yes. So thank you, and I think we are pretty much done. We are on time now.
Absolutely. Thank you all for joining. And once again, panelists, thanks so much, and we will be in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
Juhi.
all.
Bye-bye.
It was a pleasure. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Rushin. Thank you.